Hey guys, it's Daniel with Cardboard Kings, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to ship sports and TCG cards via plain white envelope using stamps. If you scroll through YouTube, you'll see a slew of videos of people explaining how to use eBay standard envelope, but I haven't seen one good explanation of the different types of stamps and the most cost-effective way to ship your cards. If you're selling outside of eBay using Facebook, Reddit, or TCG Player, this is an incredibly useful skill to know in order to ship your cards most cost effectively, safely, and secure each and every time. If this sounds like something useful, please watch the video, like, and subscribe. Okay, so first I wanted to touch on this list of items that you're going to need in order to ship cards via plain white envelope. You're first going to need penny sleeves and top loaders. These are paramount to making sure your cards stay safe when you're shipping via the postal service. You're going to need plain white envelopes. You can find a variety of sizes. Generally, I'll use 3 5/8 inch by 6.5 inch. Usually pick these up from Walmart. You're going to need blue painter's tape and Scotch tape. You're going to need stamps. Later in the video, I'm going to touch on 3 types of stamps that you're going to want to have if you routinely ship your cards through USPS plain white envelope. You're also going to want card savers and team bags if you're shipping 3 or more cards. And then also helpful is a postage or kitchen scale so you can weigh your items, make sure you're compliant with the amount of postage you're using. All right, now that we reviewed all the items you'll need to ship cards via plain white envelope using stamps, I wanted to go over the 3 main steps that you'll need to follow in order to ship your cards out. Step 1 is going to be prepping the card. So we're going to talk about putting each of your cards in a penny sleeve and top loader, and then also go through a method that I use to make sure the card doesn't shift in transit. Step number 2 is going to be actually addressing the envelope and putting the card in the envelope. And then step number 3 is going to be sealing and stamping that envelope to get ready to ship out. So without further ado, I'll go back to step 1 here. We're going to be using this Jordan Walker Unleashed out of $9.99 as an example. Let's say I sold this on Facebook or Reddit and I'm ready to ship this out. So first step is always going to be inserting the card into a penny sleeve. You can get these penny sleeves online. You can buy them from your local card shop. Not too hard to find. And then you're going to insert that penny sleeve into a top loader. Again, you can find these online or you can get them at your local card shop. Those are going to be the 2 basic main steps that you're going to need to do with every card. Before I move forward, I did want to call out, if you sell a lot of 2 cards, and neither of them are relics, they're just normal thickness. Generally, you can get by with putting these 2 back to back and then entering them into the top loader. If you can get them in without too much of a struggle, that's a pretty good way to ship 2 cards. It's not too tight in there. There's still a decent amount of, bendiness without affecting the cards. So just wanted to call it out without going too far into this. So taking out that Rafi Devers card, I was just using that as an example. Going back to our Jordan Walker Unleashed, say I just want to ship this card alone. I'm going to put that into the top loader as I disclosed. And then generally what I'll do is I'll take a piece of white printer paper here. Whatever envelopes I have, I'll basically cut it down to size so it kind of fits directly in that envelope. And what this does is once I secure this card to this piece of paper here, it'll keep the card from shifting around in transit. So next thing you'll need is your blue painter's tape. I've already ripped off 3 small strands like this. Generally what I'll do is I'll put one up top here, put another one on the side here, fold it around, and I'll put the 3rd one on the side here. So once you've done that, you've basically secured this card to the paper pretty effectively. And basically that's step 1 for a single card. Now I'm going to go through a couple more examples before going into step 2. I wanted to talk about how you do this for thicker cards or how you do this for like sets of cards, multiple cards. So let's go into that. So the second example I'll use is this Jackson Holiday Bowman Invicta. This card's pretty thick. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but it's pretty thick. If you try to bend it, it's not very bendable. And we'll get into kind of the different types of stamps later, but just know that it's kind of thick. It's not very bendable. But since it's just one card, we can use that same method. You can get your white piece of printer paper and your 3 strands of tape and tape that bad boy to the printer paper to be ready to be put straight into the envelope. And then the third example I wanted to go over was if you're selling a lot of cards. So let's say I have these 7 cards here and I want to ship them to somebody that I sold them to. Obviously, you're not going to be able to put 7 cards in one top loader. So basically, one of the things I said you're going to need is team bags or card savers. So I wanted to go over kind of how to use team bags to ship lots of cards. And then I was also going to review what you can use card savers for. So getting into it, if you have about 7 cards, generally what I'll recommend is putting the top and bottom card in a top loader. Like you see here, there's the top card and here's the bottom card, this Riley Green. So those 2 are in top loaders. And then I'll kind of sandwich the rest of the cards in between those like this. And then you can just put them in a team bag like this. You can again find these online, or you can find them at your local card shop. I've never actually bought any of these. I've actually just reused ones that other people have sent me. So you get your little sandwich here and you're going to put them in the team bag, nice and secure, fold that over, and you're pretty secure here. The cards in the middle are protected, the cards on the outside are protected. Then what I would generally do is just tape these to the white piece of printer paper with 3 strands of painter tape, and then put these inside the envelope. So, and then last example here is using card savers. So if card savers, you can fit like 4 or 5 penny sleeved cards in there pretty comfortably. This is what I'm talking about when I say card saver. This is generally what you'll need if you're wanting to submit to PSA or SGC. So I'd recommend getting some of these. They're card saver ones. So let's say I wanted to ship 4 cards or 5 cards. You can actually pretty comfortably fit 4 to 5 cards in here without it being too dicey here. And then you just kind of put a piece of tape over the top. And then these actually are nearly perfect size to go top to bottom in the envelope, so they're pretty secure here. So those are just a couple examples of step 1, which is prepping the cards. Depending on how many you've sold, the prep step is going to be a little bit differently. So just wanted to outline a couple of those. But going into step 2, I'll bring back that Jordan Walker here. And step 2 is going to be addressing the envelope and then inserting the card into the envelope here. So if you haven't addressed anything before, your name goes up here, your address down here underneath the name, and then you're going to put your city and zip right up here. So name, address, city, zip. And then you're going to put the purchaser's name here. So in the middle of the envelope, name, address, city, comma, zip. So once you've done that for, both yourself and who you're sending the card to, you're ready to go ahead and enter that piece of copy paper plus the card that you taped onto it. So if you did this right, this should slide in here like perfectly with little to no wiggle room. You can shake this around and the card's not gonna be flying everywhere in transit. And then once you do that, you're just going to lick this envelope and close it. And then you're basically done with step 2, and then it's time for step 3 here. So step 3 is going to be sealing and stamping the envelope. So first, what I generally do is I'll get my Scotch tape and I'll seal the back of this a little bit better. So you can see there's kind of 2 angles here on the back. I'll generally reinforce these a little bit with Scotch tape. So I got that one. Now I'm gonna get this other side. So I've got the back sealed up a little bit better. And then generally one other precaution I take is I'll tear off a decent chunk and I'll make sure to reinforce these sides here. I've seen in the past that the sides of the envelopes can rip when going through the sorting machine. So I'll generally add a little bit of a layer of protection here. So just reinforcing that other side, like I said. And then you're basically, 4/5 of the way there. Now all you have to do is add a stamp, and then generally I will weigh out the envelope to make sure it's under 1 ounce. And yeah, I'm gonna flip to a presentation I made for the stamps, and then I'll see you back here in a minute. Okay, we're gonna put each of these types of stamps to use a little bit later on in the video, but I did want to go over a nice infographic of the different types of stamps you're going to want to use if you routinely ship cards via plain white envelope through USPS. As a disclaimer, I did want to add that if you ship something via plain white envelope, it cannot be more than 1/4 inch thick. So that applies to each of these stamps, even though I don't directly have it written anywhere. So keep that in mind as we're going through the content. Starting up first with your most important, your most basic stamp, the Forever stamp here. These are currently 68 cents per stamp. You can ship up to 1 ounce within the envelope using this stamp. The downside here is that items can't be too rigid, they can't be too thick, as sorting machines are going to be used at the USPS facility. So in summary, you'd want to use a Forever stamp for 1 to 2 non-rigid cards. Moving into non-machinable stamp here in the middle, these are currently $1.06 per stamp. These are a little bit more versatile. Even though they can only ship up to 1 ounce, they can handle items that are a little bit more rigid or thick because sorting machines aren't used, as you can kind of tell by the name non-machinable here. In summary, you'd want to use these for thicker cards or relics, or if you want to ship more than 2 non-rigid cards. Lastly is the additional ounce stamp here on the right. These are 24 cents per stamp. These provide an additional ounce of postage. So when you're going to want to use these is if you're shipping several cards, let's say you're shipping 5 to 10 cards that weigh 1.5 ounces. With the butterfly stamp, it only covers 1 ounce of postage, so you need this additional ounce stamp to cover that extra 1/2 ounce. So in summary, you will need these only if the envelope weighs more than 1 ounce. Okay, so now that we've reviewed the different kind of stamps, the Forever stamp, the non-machinable stamp, and then the additional ounce stamp, I wanted to put those into action and show you how to apply those to your envelopes so they're ready to ship out. So taking us back to our example here, we've got the Jordan Walker Unleashed, just a single card in a plain white envelope. You can, like I explained earlier, this is pretty, bendable without actually damaging the card. It's not very rigid, so there wouldn't be any issues with it going through the machines at USPS. And the only thing you'd want to check before you attach the stamp is the weight of it. If you're just dealing with 1 or 2 cards, you're never going to be over 1 ounce. But just to kind of show you that, I've got this scale right here that I generally use to weigh my packages. So let's go ahead and turn that on and put this card on the scale. And you can see here it's only 1/2 ounce, so not really close to 1 ounce. So that basically tells us that all we need to use for this is the one Forever stamp. So You're gonna peel the stamp off, and then all you gotta do is apply it to this corner. I obviously don't want to waste my good stamps, but I mean, pretty self-explanatory. You're just gonna apply it to the corner of the envelope, and once you got the stamp on there, you're good to go. I did want to bring out the scenarios in which you'd use the non-machinable and the additional ounce stamp. So on our second example, we had this Jackson Holiday. It's pretty thick, and compared to the Jordan Walker, it's very stiff. It doesn't bend easily. And when you have something like that, you're worried about the machines that USPS has essentially damaging the envelope. The card won't sort through the machine right. Sometimes your cards might get lost in the mail due to that. So with that in mind, I'd like to take some precaution if I would ship something like this. And imagine I've got that holiday in this envelope here. I would essentially use this non-machinable envelope. Assuming it's less than an ounce, I'd use this non-machinable envelope for that holiday. And then the last case scenario is where we had that team bag of 7 cards. Like I said, I taped it to the copy paper here, and then assuming we put it in an envelope, let's go ahead and do that. We put it in the envelope and then weigh this up. So let's go ahead and do that. And it actually comes out to 1.37 ounces here. So you can see that it's over an ounce. And the non-machinable stamp and the Forever stamp only covers 1 ounce of postage. So for example, a envelope like this, you'd actually have to apply the non-machinable stamp and the additional ounce stamp on the envelope to have the correct amount of postage. Last thing I wanted to mention is you do need to make sure the thickness is under 1/4 inch. This is actually pretty thick, so I'd want to take out a ruler and kind of get a rough measurement on how thick this is. So just one more thing to keep an eye on when you're shipping PWE. If it is over 1/4 inch thick, you're going to need to figure out a different way to ship that, whether it's bubble mailer with tracking or some other method. Just wanted to call that out there as well. So I think I covered everything. Thank you guys for tuning into the video. Comment below if you have any additional questions. I'd be happy to answer them. If not, just please like the video and subscribe. And yeah, see you guys next time.